You a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. We are recapping the week's nerdy news from the first night of Hanukkah to Christmas Day and everywhere in between. That's right. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. We are right into the most depth of the holiday season that you can get. I don't know if that sentence made sense, but that's where we are. My name is Mike Gibson. With me as always is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Well, this will be the last time you hear our voice until at least Kwanzaa starts on December 26th, following with the late year holiday traditions, and possibly until the new year. So we're tying up some 2022 loose ends right now.
Yeah, that's right. This is I would say this is likely going to be our last episode of the year. We are most likely going to take next week off because Sunday is Christmas, and we can't imagine there's going to be a ton of news this past week.
By saying that something stupid, insane is going to
drop.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, like, I can't guarantee there's going to be a ton of news unless there's just more of this DC drama that we're about to dive back into.
I was going to say we do have
very possible.
Right, like we're coming up on Festivus, which is December 23rd. I think we have a lot of stories about the airing of the grievances right now.
Yes. Earlier I just said, with me as always is Steve. If you listen to last week's episode, you know that he was not part of last week's episode because of scheduling conflicts. But if you listen to last week's episode where it was me by myself, you know there's a lot of DC drama going on, and it all has to do with James Gunn and Peter Safran taking over the DC slate. And when that was announced, we started having all these questions. What's going to happen? What are they going to do? Are they going to reboot everything? Are they going to retool stuff? Are they going to replace anybody? They're just going to keep moving forward. How are they going to piece together the DC universe as it stands, which is uneven to say the least, and move forward with it? And we are starting to get some answers.
I think this week determined that the answer is burn it all to the freaking ground and see where we can go.
It definitely seems like they're going to be burning most of it to the ground. We have to start by correcting something that I talked about last week, where last week there was a whole lot of back and forth. He said, she said, I said, you said, they said, we said, regarding Wonder Woman 3 and whether or not Patty Jenkins walked away from the project or whether or not she was told that it was not going to move forward. That was the initial report. And then another report came out and said that she walked because she refused to update her treatment.
Right.
Patty Jenkins herself.
We thought it was a you can't fire me, I quit. Like Patty Jenkins dropping the mic and walking away.
Yes. Apparently, according to Patty Jenkins herself, she did not walk away from Wonder Woman 3. She took to her Twitter and posted a long letter, which includes the following excerpt. I never walked away. I was open to considering anything asked of me. It was my understanding there was nothing I could do to move anything forward at this time. DC is obviously buried in changes they are having to make, so I understand these decisions are difficult right now. So she was told that her treatment apparently didn't fit with what they wanted to do because they don't want to move forward with that incarnation of Wonder Woman, which puts a big check mark in the column of they're going to reboot the entire DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, I gotta say, she also mentioned, just as a little tidbit of information, she confirmed that she had initially left Rogue Squadron to make Wonder Woman 3. That's why Rogue Squadron got put on the back burner, because she left because she wanted to focus on Wonder Woman 3. And now that Wonder Woman 3 is not moving forward anymore, she is back with Lucasfilm. She has a new deal with Lucasfilm to continue developing Rogue Squadron. And even in this post, she said that she doesn't even know that that's 100% even going to happen. Probably because she pays attention to everyone that comes and goes at Lucasfilm,
right?
Director-wise. But that's where she is now. She's back at Lucasfilm working on Rogue Squadron,
Right.
which I'm excited about for sure. But
she's getting paid money to make the movie that I want to see the most of anything that they have announced in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, and according to her, a movie that she's very passionate about and very much wants to make.
So now you were talking about, them dropping Wonder Woman and saying that is going to be a very big check mark in the reboot everything. I think we just got
for setting that.
Yeah, the exclamation point on that as well.
Yeah. If that's not enough, if not moving forward with Wonder Woman 3 isn't enough of a signal that they're going to reboot everything, it was announced by the man himself. This is not hearsay. This is not he said, she said, we said, they said. This is Henry Cavill taking to social media and saying that he is not going to be returning as Superman a mere 2 months after he told us that he was going to be returning as Superman. A mere 2 months after we saw him return as Superman. He said the following on his social media: "I just had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it's sad news, everyone. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman. After being told by the studio to announce my return back in October prior to their hire," meaning prior to James Gunn and Peter Safran taking over. "This news isn't the easiest, but that's life. The changing of the guard is something that happens. I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them and all involved with the new universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes." So, I mean, that's an incredibly graceful and professional dismount, I think, from the role. Of course, that he's crushed that he's not returning as Superman. I think that he was very excited to. He left The Witcher.
Oh, yeah.
Like the second that door opened up for him, he was back for Superman and quit his other job, even though he didn't have a contract in place. He was like, nah, I'm done. So, like I just said, this would kind of be less of a big deal if he hadn't just come back for Black Adam, which I think it's worth noting that Warner Brothers, or many execs at Warner Brothers at the time, did not want him to cameo in Black Adam.
Right.
And it was Dwayne The Rock Johnson that went over their heads and went around those people saying no and used his whatever power he has to get that cameo to happen. I think he used the fact that Walter Hamada was on his way out at Warner Brothers and there was like this change of leadership to kind of talk to the right people to say yes so he could make it happen. And people, I've seen some reports of people online that people are blaming Peter Safran and James Gunn for firing Cavill after bringing him back, but they didn't bring him back for Black Adam. They had nothing to do with Black Adam.
Right.
They were hired after Black Adam even came. They didn't even start till November. They weren't even in the position of power when Black Adam was released.
Well, and they still don't even have a hand in upcoming. Like, there's a couple upcoming releases that are shot and done with post.
There's 4 DC movies coming out in 2023 that they have had not one. They have not done one lick of work on at all. Which we're going to talk about that in a second too. And while we're talking about Black Adam,
I should read the rundown, right? That's what I should do before I do this.
Well, we're going to get to everything. While we're talking about Black Adam, one source told The Hollywood Reporter, an anonymous source, said that in the end, he meaning Henry Cavill as Superman, he was a pawn in Dwayne's failed attempt to control a piece of DC. So kind of indicating that The Rock saw a cameo from Henry Cavill as Superman in Black Adam, saw that as a way to get more people to see Black Adam, and kind of just used Henry Cavill to try to, make money on the movie. And we haven't really talked about this, but Black Adam has not done the business that Warner Brothers wanted it to do, and has not done the business that The Rock wanted it to do. And I don't know, apparently I just saw right before we started recording, I saw a report on Twitter that Dwayne The Rock Johnson has unfollowed the official Black Adam Instagram page and the Warner Brothers Discovery Instagram page. So I don't think he's super happy with Warner Brothers Discovery, but also I don't think Warner Brothers Discovery is super happy with him going over their heads to cast a cameo in their film that they didn't want him to do, and then also a film just not making the money that they wanted it to make. Like, I think I wonder if he's also had a conversation with James Gunn and Peter Safran about probably not returning as Black Adam. That's my guess.
Which seems weird because, like, if you're going to roll Shazam 2 out there, and then you've had two successful films in the Shazam franchise and whatever Black Adam did, but like they go together. Like, that's a...
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
You're right. They do go together, and they should have gone together. I think it was probably a mistake for anybody, including The Rock, including Warner Brothers Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a mistake for anyone to think that this movie that's based on a Shazam villain, it's not a Lex Luthor movie. It's not a Joker movie.
Right.
A Shazam villain movie. You think that's, like, I don't care who you cast in that. No one knows who Black Adam is. And no one inherently cares about that character. You think that's the movie you think is going to make $1 billion just because The Rock's in it? Like, I liked it a lot. It's on HBO Max now. I'm going to watch it again. I like that movie.
If it's on HBO Max, I might actually watch it.
Yeah, I like it. It's a fun movie, but like, to think that it was going to be some crown jewel of like, if he was playing Superman, then that would have made $1 billion. But he's playing a character that no one really knows. It's like Sony expecting Kraven the Hunter to make $1 billion or something like that.
Or a movie we're going to talk about later to make any money.
Yeah. Oh, stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned.
I mean, even DC villains, like, I don't even care. You could make a Darkseid movie and nobody would care.
Right.
Like, nobody would care.
I mean, I think that's with villains across the board. Like, I think the fact that they made a Joker movie that made $1 billion, that was an exception. Like, that was a huge exception.
That was also because for years, even in film, between Nicholson, between Ledger, between everything, they banged us over the head with the Joker.
Joker is on a different level from literally any other comic book villain. The Joker is on a different level. He just is. Yeah. He just is. He's more popular than he can carry a movie. He's more popular than any other comic book villain, hands down.
Yeah. I mean, because even if Marvel went out and made like a Doom movie, it wouldn't be there. It'd probably be more than what Black Adam made, but it won't be. It wouldn't have been like Joker levels.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And Doom is about as big I'm trying to think of a villain from that side that would be like the colloquial, like, we know him.
I mean, Venom. Didn't Venom make $1 billion? I mean, that was an R. Like, the other exceptional thing about the Joker being it was an R-rated movie that made $1 billion, and that's wild. But like, imagine if it was PG-13, that would have made way more money.
Oh, 100%.
But like Venom's not even, they're not even treating Venom as a villain. They're making him they're doing the whole anti-hero
I think that's kind of why I didn't even register with that. Like, it seems, I mean, it'd be Doom, Magneto, maybe. Like, if they did an X-Men Origins Magneto, maybe. And that'd be with Fassbender, like,
maybe. But I feel like there's such baggage from that.
Yeah. 100%.
Fox X-Men franchise that, like, I don't know that it would. I don't think that it would really work. I mean, it would probably be a good movie, but I don't know that it would make the money that something like Joker made, or like that they wanted Black Adam to make.
I did just think, though, I would love to see like the Eric Lenscher origin story, like deep in like the whole origin of Magneto.
Oh yeah,
like that would be a great movie. It would not be a blockbuster. It would not be a $1 billion movie like you're talking.
Yeah,
but it would be a really goddamn good movie.
But it's also something we've seen one or two times already in flashbacks.
Oh yeah,
in X-Men movies.
Yeah, in like quick flashbacks or
so they have to find a new way to do it.
Also, like various World War II movies. We've seen the story effectively. So
exactly. Anyway, the funny part. Going back to the Rock, trying to use Henry Cavill apparently to put some butts in seats for his film. What's funny, it's not funny, but it's kind of funny, is that for how many years did we hear The Rock saying the hierarchy of the DC
Right.
universe is about to change. And then guess what? It really did in real life. It honestly changed by having James Gunn and Peter Safran take over. And guess what? That means you're not going to be Black Adam anymore.
Yeah, like he 100% called it, just not in the way he thought he was gonna.
Yeah, not in the way he thought. No. And like, I also feel for The Rock. Like, dude, The Rock spent 15 years attached to be Black Adam, and finally the movie came out. It didn't do as well as they thought, and now he's never going to be Black Adam again. Like, it's over already. Anyway, Steve, you and I were together
million.
when I
Jesus, that was
what's that?
It was only 400 million he made. That was
Yeah.
all that movie made.
I know it's lower than a lot of expectations. Way lower than I even thought. I thought The Rock. Apparently, me and a lot of other people thought The Rock alone would at least,
Yeah,
I don't know, get closer to $1 billion than that. 500. I thought it was going to make over 500 million easy, but it did not.
yeah.
Anyway,
he actually by the numbers, literally by a website, thenumbers.com. He himself, as a lead, has made $2 billion domestic box office. Apparently, Black Adam was not one of those. Or
yeah,
was not
I know.
one
Well,
that
like
really
I
pushed
think
it.
what movie does it say? What movie that was that he made?
No, that
made
was
$2 billion?
total.
Total. Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I found it. So Jumanji.
Jumanji. Yeah.
Jumanji
huge
made
hit for him.
total 1.5 billion. Or no, Furious 7. Yeah, it's basically the Furious movies. Furious 7 made 1.5. Fate of the Furious was 1.2. Jumanji, the original, was 961 million. Jumanji, the next level. Jesus, how many Jumanji movies are there? 798 million. Fast 6. Another Fast and Furious.
Yeah, I mean, Fast and the Furious, those movies make a ton of money, and you're adding.
Moana made 631.
Oh yeah, he's in Moana. Sure.
Fast 5. San Andreas, which would have been a movie that he pretty much put on his shoulders because, I'd assume it's about an earthquake because San Andreas, but
right.
456, Mummy Returns, Rampage. Rampage is a movie about a 1980s video game. Of course, that's strictly on Dwayne Johnson being Dwayne Johnson. But I guess when you look at it, it's in that ballpark. Like that was 427. Black Adam was 390. So it's
I mean,
it either didn't get any bump from Dwayne Johnson on the DC end, or it got no Dwayne Johnson bump from the DC end.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't get enough of a DC bump, and it didn't give enough of a
right.
The Rock bump.
Neither helped each other. It was just like about an average Rock movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have some thoughts on that as well, but and we'll get there. But I do want to say, that's what I started to say. Steve, you and I were together when we learned that Henry Cavill would not be returning as Superman. And as I was leaving your house, thinking, as soon as I get home, I'm going to check Twitter and see if James Gunn has responded to this, because as I've said in the last couple of weeks, I love so much how transparent he is being about his kind of takeover of the DC universe and being very open. And lo and behold, I got home, opened Twitter. The first thing on my Twitter feed was James Gunn responding to Henry Cavill's post about not coming back as Superman. And he said the following. He said, "Peter and I have a DC slate ready to go." Whoa, really? Amazing. So does that mean he's pitched it to Warner Brothers? There's like several coming out of this Twitter thread. We're going to hit stuff at the end too, but there are several things he said in this Twitter thread that on a normal week would have been just lead stories for this podcast that we would talk about for 20 minutes each. But there's so much else going on that we got to just bump through them like they're nothing. Anyway, Peter and I have a DC slate ready to go. And that means they have a whole plan. That's like they have a plan of films ready to go, which we couldn't be more over the moon about. We'll be able to share some exciting information about our first projects at the beginning of the new year. Among those on the slate is Superman. In the initial stages, our story will be focusing on an earlier part of Superman's life, so the character will not be played by Henry Cavill. But we just had a great meeting with Henry, and we're big fans, and we talked about a number of exciting possibilities to work together in the future. So what what does that mean? I don't know. Is he going to play a different character in the
What?
DCU? I don't think that's possible. What I think that means, kind of what I hope it means, DC is famous for using the word crisis in their like events. Crisis on Infinite Earths, Dark Crisis. There's all these different things. Infinite Crisis, Identity Crisis.
They're not next year though, and we'll be talking about that later, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think down the road, it's very possible that we'll get a Crisis on Infinite Earths where whatever the new Justice League ends up having to fight the old Justice League or team up with the old Justice League, and that way maybe Henry Cavill will come back and Gal Gadot will come back as Wonder Woman.
Or even the way he stated it, like the character won't be played by Henry Cavill. The earlier, like, I guess it depends on how much of a jump there is. Like if they're doing like just post origin story type Superman, like where he just figures out what the hell he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I did see something else from the Hollywood Reporter to this week that said that it wasn't going to be Smallville Superman.
Right.
It was going to be Metropolis Daily Planet Superman.
Okay.
So I don't know that they're doing anything so young that they're going to need to like cast two different actors necessarily.
Okay.
So anyway, as Steve and I were saying, this pretty much guarantees a full DCU reboot under James Gunn and Peter Safran, which means we're losing all the actors that we currently know, or at least most of them. I guess I can't say we know 100% because we don't. We just know that Henry Cavill and we know Gal Gadot's coming back. And there was that rumor about Jason Momoa switching over to Lobo.
Which he would be an awesome Lobo, but still really weird to do that.
Still really weird. Really weird. All signs point to Ezra Miller not returning as Flash. And we all know Ben Affleck has retired as Batman. So at least the Justice League is not coming back. At least the Justice League. And if that wasn't enough, Hollywood Reporter reported this week that, as I talked about last week, how they announced that Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot had filmed cameos for The Flash, but we weren't sure if they were going to be cut. Hollywood Reporter is now saying that those cameos have been cut from the Flash movie. So, yeah, the only lingering question that I have right now is if James Gunn is going to also reboot the stuff that he has done in the DC universe, the cast from Suicide Squad or Peacemaker. Peacemaker was an incredibly popular show for HBO Max when it came out earlier this year. And they announced a season 2. And as recently as 3 months ago, he said publicly that Peacemaker season 2 is still happening. So now my question is Peacemaker season 2 still happening? Is John Cena still playing this character? And is that continuity still alive? Like, it doesn't seem like it should be. If they're getting rid of everything else, it seems like everything should go with it. And as much as that breaks my absolute heart, it seems like for clarity, it should be all or nothing.
Yeah.
What do you think, Steve?
Again, much like if it wasn't for the cameo in Black Adam, the Cavill news or the Cavill stuff wouldn't have been weird. If it wasn't for the the snippet at the end of Peacemaker season 1,
yes,
they could have kept Suicide Squad and that completely separate. Like there wasn't anything that touched on, like even Starro and all that. Like nothing touched on Justice League. Nothing touched on any of the other continuity except for that one scene. I
mean, if you go back, possibly the most heartbroken I'm going to be is about losing Margot Robbie as Harley. And because she's in The Suicide Squad, but she's also in Suicide Squad.
Yep.
And in Suicide Squad, she interacts with Ben Affleck's Batman.
True.
And also Ezra Miller's Flash is a very brief cameo in the original David Ayer Suicide Squad movie. And Viola Davis, who plays Amanda Waller in Peacemaker, in Black Adam, in the Suicide Squad, and in Suicide Squad, she has a post-credit scene with Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne.
Right.
So there are still connections to these mainline Justice League-ish characters. So it seems like everything's going to go.
Yeah.
And I am somebody who has not wanted. There's been people for years that have been saying, just scrap everything and start over. Scrap everything and start over. I have not been one of those people. I've been like, no, there's good stuff there. Like Margot Robbie is great, and Shazam was great. Aquaman, the dialogue's terrible, but it looks great. And Wonder Woman, like, how can you get rid of Wonder Woman? And the Suicide Squad, so good. Like, there's good pieces here. Just like elevate the good, But
I was just thinking about Aquaman the other day, about how like the star power they pulled in for that.
Yeah,
with
Nicole Kidman's in that movie.
Yeah, Nicole Kidman, Willem Dafoe, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, like it's insane. Like
it's insane.
You watch the movie and you're like, oh, they're them? Okay, cool.
I know, exactly.
Yeah, are we gonna lose Yahya Abdul-Mateen as Black Manta?
Yes, I think so. If we're losing Jason Momoa, we probably
better get him back somewhere
else.
then.
And that's like,
well, technically, we still have him in Watchmen.
True. But as I was saying, like, as much as I wanted, as much as I was clinging to the possibility of getting this universe kind of off the ground and into a better place, as I said last week, I definitely understand the need to reboot because I think people just have a bad taste in their mouths about this universe because it started on a down note. Like Man of Steel, people are mixed on that movie. I like it.
Yeah,
I don't love it.
Fine.
I like it a lot. And then the 2 or 3 that came after are bad. Like Batman vs Superman, I think is a bad movie. Suicide Squad is a bad movie. Wonder Woman, exceptional movie. But then the whole Justice League thing, like you're not making good stuff. And these are like, so people see these actors in trailers and they identify them with like, oh, I saw that guy. Henry Cavill Superman. I saw him in 1 okay and then 2 dog shit other superhero movies.
Well,
I don't want to see that again.
People are like, oh, the Snyder Cut did that. It's like the Snyder Cut was decent enough. It fixed a shitty movie into okay, this is watchable.
Yeah, into a longer okay movie that takes 4 hours to watch. And
I just figured I'd cut off the Snyder stands at the
right
at the gate there. It's like, it was a thing.
It was a thing. But anyway, I find myself now looking down the barrel of a completely of a complete reboot for the DC universe. I find myself being...
Wait, you're looking down the barrel of a different gun?
James Gunn.
I'll be here all
I
night,
find
folks.
myself...
Try the veal,
I find
my waitress.
I find myself incredibly excited about what could come out of this. Which I think is a reason. It's part of the Marvel fatigue. I think that people are feeling, including myself, is that like it's just the same thing. Like it's not fresh anymore.
Well,
and now we're gonna get a whole fresh thing. We're gonna get a whole new Justice League.
Yeah, but that's why Andor felt so good with Star Wars, is it was a complete departure from what we'd felt.
Yeah,
it was something new.
And yeah, exactly. But I don't think Marvel or Star Wars are in a place where they can do this. Like this is definitely ruffling a bunch of feathers. Yeah. Certainly ruffling a bunch of feathers. But it doesn't come close to the amount of feathers that would be ruffled if Lucasfilm or Kevin Feige at Marvel, if Kathleen Kennedy or Kevin Feige came out and said, hey, we're going to fire everybody and we're going to reboot and we're going to start over. All this continuity that you've been invested in for this amount of time, it's all going down the drain. We're firing everybody and we're going to start over.
Well, and that's a testament to what DC has done, not in the positive way, but like the fact that it's been so fractured and the fact that there have been some very, very good movies, but also some very, very dog shit movies.
Yeah.
And the inability of them to put out a consistent product has really allowed them to be able to do this and hand it to James Gunn and Safran and say, go, like, do your thing.
Yeah. I wonder, and I wonder if we'll ever know this. I wonder if that was a mandate from David Zaslav, if it was like, you're taking it over, but you're starting completely fresh and you have to fire all these people. Or if it was James Gunn and Peter Safran saying, you know what? The way to move forward is to start fresh. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, I could see it either way. I mean, you've got the creatives. Like if it was from the creatives, then it's one thing. If it's from Zaslav, I could also see that of like, listen, we're tied to too many we've got too much baggage on this. Like, let's cut ties and start over.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm sure that we're going to get more announcements in the coming weeks of, we're going to get a social post from Gal Gadot. I just had a conversation with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it's bad news. We're going to get eventually a post from Jason Momoa. I'm no longer Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom will be my last go around as Aquaman. Like we're gonna hear all of that.
Don't hold your breath on the Ezra Miller post, but
yeah, I don't know that we'll ever hear from anything from Ezra Miller again.
He's just done. They're done.
But I'm very excited because I always love a new take. It's like reading comics. Like I love a new take. I love a new story, and that's something that we're not going to get from Marvel for like a million years. We're not going to get a reboot. We're not going to get a reinvention of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for like anytime soon. And it may be a long time after now that we get any new DC stuff. But the fact that we get at least one more like, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know. Like part of the Marvel fatigue is like, yeah, I pretty much know what this movie's going to feel like and look like because I've seen 30 other ones that feel like this and look like this. And now, not that DC even got there because they were so fractured. They hadn't really gotten themselves off the ground. But now we're all going to go in with completely blank slates and no expectations, which is exciting, very exciting. It's the best thing that I think that they could be doing right now. Anyway, I think there was something else I was going to say, but I don't remember. And we're taking a long time to talk about this. So I do want to say, here are some things. When I said earlier that a couple of things that James Gunn said in his Twitter thread would have been just normal headline stories for this podcast, we're going to blow through those right now like they're one-shots. Apparently, the new Superman movie that they're working on is being written by James Gunn. He is writing a new Superman movie. He is not signed on to direct it. They do not yet have a director. Also, he confirmed that it will not be an origin story. Will not be an origin story.
Right.
Which I think is good because, it's not like we've seen Superman's origin as much as we've seen Batman's origin or Spider-Man's origin, but we've seen it enough. We get it. He came from Krypton.
Right.
We don't need to see it again.
If you're someone who's going to see a comic book movie, Peter Parker's origin, Bruce Wayne's origin, and Kal-El's origin.
And I'm sure they will hint at it or give you enough to know it without showing it, like they did with Tom Holland when he took over Spider-Man, like they did with the new Robert Pattinson Batman.
Yeah, which is fine. That's great.
Which is fine.
Speaking of the Spideys and the spidering.
Oh, wait, we're not there yet.
Oh, we're not?
I know you're sick of talking about DC. We're not there yet. Two more things. He also confirmed in this Twitter thread, James Gunn also confirmed in this Twitter thread that he has spoken to Ben Affleck, not about being Batman or not being Batman. He's spoken to Ben Affleck about directing a movie for DC, which Ben Affleck was going to do for a long time. He was going to direct his own solo Batman movie. But then Matt Reeves came on board to direct it because it was too much for him to handle. And then being Batman became too much for him to handle, so he stepped away. And we got the Robert Pattinson Batman movie. But they're just looking for the right project. Both Ben Affleck wants to direct and James Gunn wants him to direct. And they're looking for the right project. So that's a whole thing. And speaking of the Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson Batman movie, James Gunn has clarified and confirmed that they will not be bringing in the Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves version of Batman to their shared DCU Justice League universe. So that means we will at least have two Batman.
Yeah.
I think David Zaslav said, we're not going to have 4 Batmen, don't worry. But he said not 4 because he knew we're probably going to at least have 2.
That means we're up to, we can have at least 3, so we're good.
Yeah, you're right. And I like that because then you get a Batman like Robert Pattinson, who's like very grounded, very down to earth, very human. And then you can have a Batman that, goes into space or whatever the fuck and, fights aliens and shit alongside the Justice League, which in comic books works.
Right.
Easily works, but hard to see Robert Pattinson, jumping into a Justice League satellite or something like that and, going off into nowhere.
That's why nowhere fitting, heading to Marvel next. But that's why we see with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, one day he's sitting in a class in DC, a class trip in DC, and the next he's fighting with the Avengers and the Guardians in the middle of nowhere with So
yeah, exactly.
If they can do that with Batman, then more power to him.
More power to him. Anyway, that's a whole lot of DC stuff. Finally getting through that. And moving into some Marvel stuff. We got the first, I teased this last week because I announced it was going to come out. We got the first full trailer for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And wow, what a trailer it is. Steve, take it away. What did you think of this trailer?
From what I saw of it, it was great.
You didn't watch the whole thing?
I still have not seen the entire thing.
Oh, no.
It was the standard drop while I was at work, and then life happened.
Yeah.
I saw the fact that Oscar Isaac will be back as Miguel O'Hara.
Oh, he sure will.
I saw that Jessica Drew is played by Issa Rae, which is going to be amazing.
Yes.
Pun intended, amazing Spider-Man. And yeah, there's just a plethora of spidering happening in various spider iterations, it seems.
Yeah, I love that version of Jessica Drew Spider-Woman. I thought she looked awesome. Yeah. And apparently, I saw people talking about this on Twitter.
I know where you're going.
That is a reference to the original first ever Spider-Woman in Marvel Comics was a black woman.
Yep.
Her name, it was not Jessica Drew. Jessica Drew was a different character and still is around as Spider-Woman. But I don't remember I don't remember the woman's name because it wasn't, but she called herself Spider-Woman. And it was a very similar outfit to like Peter's classic red and blue with the webbing spider outfit. But she had like a big afro and everything too. It was like so cool. And like, what a cool tip of the hat to the literal origins of the character of Spider-Woman to make her look like that. That's great. It's perfect. So cool. Yeah, a lot of Spider-Man 2099 beating up Miles Morales mercilessly. I feel like I need to watch it in slow motion or something because I feel like there's so many background spider characters. We get like a Mary Jane Spider-Woman. We get a what's the Mayday? We get Mayday.
Mayday was there.
Peter and Mary Jane's daughter in one universe. That's awesome. I'm so excited about this movie. Definitely one of my most anticipated films of 2023. By the way, stick around at the end of this podcast. We should have said this at the beginning. At the end of this podcast, we're going to be going over the movies that are coming out in 2023, movie shows and everything, and talking about what our most anticipated ones are, and going over what we thought the best of 2022 was.
Was there a cameo by Spider-Punk too?
Yes, we see Spider-Punk, I believe, for the first time. Real quick shot. We didn't hear him yet. We know he's being voiced by Daniel Kaluuya.
Yep.
But haven't.
The bombastic Bagman made an appearance.
Yep. Yeah. There's so many. There's like there's a scene where there's just so many walking. Like Miles is moving forward towards the camera, and in the background there's just thousands of different spider people.
Yeah.
I really like how they began the trailer with a scene between Miles and his mom.
That was
yeah, I thought was great because there's such a focus on his relationship with his dad in the first one, which is great and brings a tear to my eye when I'm watching that movie. But also, I like that they didn't try to just go back to that well. They're like, well, let's explore his relationship with his mom. And this is a trailer, so who knows how much of that's going to be left in the actual movie.
Which in the comics, it was more of the mom focus, and
yeah.
Jeff was very like, I'm the police guy. This is my thing. Blah blah blah. So,
right.
Yeah, it's good to see that explored and extrapolated on, and
because it's something that makes sense. It's like a way for them to add a different dynamic to the character or to the film without like, oh, we're going to introduce this new character suddenly. Like, it's not a new character, it's just his mom. So it makes total sense that they'd be having this conversation or he'd have this relationship. Like it's organic to the source material, to the story that they have.
Yep.
So yeah. Very excited about this movie. Comes out this summer, this June.
Yeah,
I believe
that may make an appearance later in the podcast.
Yeah, I made a mental note. we're going to read a list of everything. Like I just said, we're going to read a list of everything coming out in 2023. And I made a mental note of when to start and stop talking about what comes out just this summer alone. The movies coming out this summer are insane. I'm going to be living at the movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of a movie that may not make me live in a movie theater, we couldn't get to the end of the year without having one more insane announcement from Sony and their universe of Spider-Man characters, right? We couldn't. We talked about Kraven this year.
And we still don't know what to call that.
Yeah. What's the other one? El Muerto. That's the other one that we talked about.
Bad Bunny. Yep.
El Muerto, a comic book character that's been in 2 books, being adapted to getting his own movie, being played by rapper Bad Bunny. I thought that was the weirdest Spider-Man villain that they were going to give a movie to.
We expected that was the deepest deep cut we would get.
Yeah. I was like, this is the bottom of the barrel, right? They can't go any lower than that, right? Oh.
Here, hold my beer, Mike.
Steve, I was just going to say that. They heard this podcast and said, oh, Multiverse Report, hold our beer.
Yeah.
My name is Sony. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a movie about a character named Hypno-Hustler.
Yes.
But that movie's going to star legitimate talent and, I don't know, creative genius Donald Glover.
And also Aaron Davis already? Donald Glover?
Right. I know. Yeah, we're going to have to talk about that. Donald Glover is going to star as Hypno-Hustler in Sony's Hypno-Hustler film. So I'm sure all of you have at least a passing familiarity with Hypno-Hustler, right? He's like on everybody's, like we were talking about the Joker earlier. Obviously, Hypno-Hustler right underneath the Joker as far as, why didn't we think about that when we were mentioning comic book villains earlier?
Right. So instead, Antoine Deloigne is the lead singer of the Mercy Killers, going by the name of Hypno-Hustler. He and his band were scheduled to perform at a nightclub called Beyond Forever. When the club manager catches Hypno-Hustler robbing the safe, he uses his hypnotic equipment on the manager. Apparently that's where the hypno part comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Wikipedia, because I sure as shit did not have any clue who this guy was.
Yeah. He's a total Z-list Spider-Man villain. Created in 1978 by Bill Mantlo and Frank Springer. And yeah, like you just said, apparently he hypnotizes people with his magic guitar and then robs them when they're hypnotized.
Didn't you read a comic book about that? Oh, wait, no.
No, I write comic books about good guys with magic guitar weapons.
Which also may come up later in the podcast.
I can't. So yeah, no, I can't say. I don't think that's necessarily a dumb power to have, but the fact that Sony just keeps just literally scraping the bottom of the barrel for Spider-Man villains when they have a lot.
They appeared in House of M.
Okay.
In a crowd, completely unsourced that it was even them. Like it was just somebody drew Hypno-Hustler into a crowd in House of M. That is their highest, like the highest tier they've made.
So like, this has got to be part of the deal with Disney, right? That they can't use
100%.
certain villains. It's got to be that they can't use certain villains, and that they have to dredge the bottom of the lake to get to get movies made. But like, why even make this movie? And why aren't you like Donald Glover, like you said, already played Aaron Davis in Spider-Man Homecoming, who goes on to become, he's Miles Morales' uncle, goes on to become the Prowler. Make that movie, Sony.
Dude,
make that movie.
Make a Chameleon movie. Make a Sandman movie. Well, no,
isn't Chameleon going to be in? Chameleon's going to be in Kraven, isn't he?
I don't know. Chameleon was,
or somebody with that name. Someone with that name is going to be in Kraven.
Oh yeah, he was in. Technically, he was in Homecoming.
Far From Home.
Or Far From Home. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like whatever the European, whichever home one that was.
Yeah.
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 It's
the Hollywood Reporter said that Donald Glover, quote, sparked to the musical aspect of the character and the fact that he has less Marvel canon baggage, freeing him to greater interpretations.
But there's got to be something against Black Cat, like, or like Scorpion, Shocker,
Silver Sable, Shocker,
Silver
Scorpion,
Sable, Jackal, any of them.
Yep. Any of 'em.
Hammerhead, like go City and go Hammerhead or
Right.
Tombstone or
Tombstone.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
THR also
go with Sony. I mean, Sony did it on the PlayStation. Mr. Negative.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You have
Rhino.
You have the best movie you could have in the video game that was made for your console. Use it.
Yeah. More on that later too.
True.
Hollywood Reporter also suggests that the project, quote, could be anything from a disco period piece to a reimagined modern hip hop version or even a cyberpunk future play. I gotta say, nothing about that appeals to me whatsoever. Like, none of those descriptions make me excited to see this movie. The only thing that makes me excited to see this movie is that Donald Glover's going to be in it.
Right.
It's the only thing.
See, with Donald Glover, if you like the period piece part hits me if Donald Glover's doing it. So I'm just like, yeah, I could get with that. But yeah, Donald Glover is the only thing that will get me to see this movie. Although Matt Smith and a cast like Morbius could not get me to see Morbius. And I sat through about 20 minutes of it, and that was that.
You didn't finish it?
No.
You just watched 20 minutes?
I was getting ready to fall asleep. I was like, all right, I'm done.
It
might have been like the half an hour to 40 minutes, but yeah, you get the gist.
Well, you know who's probably not going to be in this movie? Spider-Man. If Sony continues to do the thing that they have been doing, which is not putting Spider-Man in their Spider-Man villain movies, then Spider-Man's not going to be in it. So, I mean, I guess there's a good chance that I could go into this movie with zero expectations and kind of like it. Now that I'm thinking about it, because Spider-Man's not going to be in it. I don't know anything about this character. I don't care about this character. I don't care what they do with this character. So this actually has a stronger chance to be a good film in my eyes than something like Kraven or Venom did, you know? Because I'm like invested in those characters. I'm not invested in this guy at all. And Donald Glover's great. He doesn't really attach himself to stuff that's bad. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, Hypno-Hustler. Get ready, guys. Mark those calendars for Hypno-Hustler.
Right. Put it on the board.
Moving on into comics this week in your local comic book store, amongst other things, you got Alien #4, Avengers Forever #12, Batman, Superman World's Finest #10, Batman vs. Robin #4, Black Panther #12, Brzrkr #11, Catwoman 50, Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. See, I mentioned that word crisis earlier. #7, this is the finale of that series. I Hate Fairyland #2, Mary Jane and Black Cat #1, Nightwing #99, Sabertooth and the Exiles #2. Steve.
I didn't know until you put it on here.
I didn't know until I saw it on the list. Something is Killing the Children #27. That shit's not over.
Nope. It'll be in the pull list.
I was told by multiple sources that 26 was the last issue of Something is Killing the Children, and here we are. There's more.
I know I was one of those sources.
Yeah, you were. But the other one was somebody that owns a comic book store.
Right.
So I thought that was a pretty trustworthy source. Spider-Man The Lost Hunt #2, Stuff of Nightmares #4, Traveling to Mars #2, Wakanda #3, Wolverine 28, and X-Men Annual #1. Please head out to your local comic book stores this Wednesday and pick out all those books or, whatever you want.
I feel like I'm contractually obligated to buy X-Men Annual #1 just because I've bought every X-Men Annual that I can think of since I started collecting
there you go. You
comics.
have to now.
So
you got to. Moving on into some one-shots. We got, first of all, my computer's taking forever. I didn't actually write this down, so I was going to click on an article, and now it's taking forever to load. But anyway, we got a first look. BBC released the first look at Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor Who, who will be, I believe, the 15th Doctor after David Tennant returns as the 14th Doctor, inexplicably, for a series of specials coming out next year.
But also the 11th? But who knows?
But also...
or is it 12th?
10th. He was the 10th.
Oh, he was 10th.
And now he's also the 14th. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
He's the Grover Cleveland of Doctor Who.
Yeah, he's exactly.
Yep. Okay.
That is exactly correct. Steve. No better way to put it. But we got the first official image of him. Like doctors always have a certain, or I guess nowadays, not maybe initially, but they're known to have a certain signifying or identifying wardrobe or something that they wear that sets them apart from other doctors, whether that's like a bow tie and a fez, or a long trench coat like David Tennant wears, or a long scarf like Doctor Number 4 used to wear. All these different things. Jodie Whittaker was wearing a big rainbow coat, like things like that. Nakuti Gatwa seems to be wearing like a brown plaid like suit, pants, and a matching like longer, like an overcoat, but a longer one with a bright orange t-shirt underneath. Looking pretty hip, I gotta say. Pretty cool look. We got that, and we know a little bit more about what the next Doctor's going to look like.
There we go. Moving on into things we now know what they're going to slightly look like. Spider-Man 2 will hit the PS5 in fall of 2023. I think we've seen a total of one shot from this with Spidey and Miles that seems to be on every article that this is has been tagged in. But yeah, it's the follow-up to the wildly successful Marvel Spider-Man and the wildly successful sequel Miles Morales, which was even more fun because, well, just the visuals of Miles. There's something about the way in those games that Miles swings that's just like, this is fun. Like, Spidey's fun, but it
is better. Really cool. It is. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm having like some internet issues right now, like some lag. And I'm trying to hopefully catch up. But I do feel like they did a great job in those two games of differentiating how Peter swings and moves and looks versus how Miles does. And they could have just like put a Miles skin on the Peter version and done it that way. But they didn't. And they went the extra mile, which I think is great.
Yeah, definitely not phoning it in helped the sequel much more.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Our last one shot of the night before we get into our 2022 recap. We started off with Henry Cavill. We closed with Henry Cavill. Because, you Henry Cavill fans out there, don't worry. He's going to be fine. No, he's not going back to The Witcher. No, he's not going to be Superman. However, he gets to do a dream project of his own. If you've seen many interviews with Henry Cavill or you follow him, you know that he's a big fan of the game Warhammer. A game that I know very little about. But apparently, Henry Cavill will star and produce in a Warhammer 40,000 or Warhammer 40K series for Amazon.
Yeah.
It's an adaptation of the game, again, that I know nothing about, but I know that Henry Cavill loves it so hard and so much that he's very excited, I'm sure, about doing it. I'm sure this is what he's wanted to do. Probably even more than be Superman. I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah, and 40K is an interesting. There's a ton of lore around it. It's been a tabletop game, like a tabletop war game for the original Warhammer came out in, I want to say, the 80s at some point. Was a tabletop miniatures war game. 40K was an evolution of that in the future with like Space Marines and shit. And there's crazy amounts of lore, and apparently he's absolutely diehard into it. So, hey, if he's all aboard, then I'm probably all aboard because I don't think I've ever seen him in anything that's not been good. So, okay.
Nice. Awesome. Cool. Well, that would normally be the end of our show, but because we're pretty sure this is going to be our last show of the year,
it's time for superlatives.
It's time for some superlatives. Yeah, superlatives. Yes. So, all right, we're going to do a little bit of a best of 2022 between the two of us. We're going to talk about our best movie, our favorite show, and our favorite comic or something else.
Yeah,
probably.
I think that was the three we went with.
Yeah.
As you can see, this is extremely formal and definitely written down in the show notes.
Yeah, I have not prepared for this. I kind of have ideas in my brain, but I didn't write anything down, and I'm just going to kind of wing it.
I did about an hour and a half ago, so yeah.
Okay. Well, do you want to start with movies?
Sure. Let's go with that.
So we had a lot of great stuff in 2022 across the board. You gotta say.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve, favorite movie.
So do you want me to go with? Do you want to go from bottom to top? Because every time I went with every category I went with an honorable mention and then the winner.
Oh, cool. See, I didn't do that because I haven't written anything down, but I can.
So here's what I'll do. I'll go my honorable mention.
Stuff.
I'll go my honorable mention, and then you give yours, and then I'll give whatever I gave.
Okay, I think I can do that. But let's first, I guess I just want to say in general, and I'm sure this is probably obvious for people that are listening or watching this, that we're sticking to just movies and shows that are in this genre that we would cover. We're not talking about like we're not expecting these things to get nominated for, Academy Awards or anything like that. We're talking about nerdverse films.
Although a couple of these did get nominated for Golden Globes in various ways.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, so while I'm trying to think of an honorable mention, what's your honorable mention for best film of 2022? Your favorite 2022 film?
It was not released in theaters.
Oh.
It was released exclusively on Hulu, and it would be Prey.
Damn it, dude. Yeah. That's a good one.
I was thinking through
honorable
it. I was
mention
like,
was Prey. Yeah, Prey was so good.
It really was.
I don't know. What about, I don't know, talk to me about why it's an honorable mention for you.
It was just, for me, I didn't really ever have too many ties to the Predator movies. Like, I remember watching the original. I remember enjoying it. I remember it being really, really well done movie. Something I went back and watched a couple of times, whatever. This just brought me back in, and it was just extremely well shot. It was extremely well acted. The plot was solid. Like, it was just a good all around movie. And it probably, if it had gotten a theatrical release and I had seen it there, it might have, might have been at the top. It was just, really enjoyed it.
I agree. It was incredible. My honorable mention is one that we have not talked about on this podcast.
Oh yeah.
But I think it's in enough of the wheelhouse that it would be appreciated by people that do listen to this podcast. And it was also not released in movie theaters. My honorable mention is Weird, the Al Yankovic story, which was released exclusively on Roku.
Yep.
Strange, not necessarily the best option, I think, for release, but even if you don't have a Roku device, you can just open the app and watch it for free. Like, you don't even have to own a Roku thing. And I highly recommend anyone that likes to laugh or if you like Weird Al, you got to watch this movie. I laughed my ass off. It's so funny. It's so weird. Daniel Radcliffe stars as Weird Al Yankovic. Evan Rachel Wood plays Madonna.
That's great.
There are about 1,000 other cameos from either high-level celebrities and or just like comedy people. Like, if you're in that world, like, you recognize people that are like Paul F. Tompkins is in it, Scott Aukerman is in it, like just all these, I don't know, underground comedy people. I laughed so hard for so long, and still thinking about it makes me laugh today. I can't recommend it enough. Comedy is subjective, obviously. Like, not everybody thinks the same stuff's funny, but if I'm saying Weird Al and you're like, oh, I like that guy, then you should watch this movie for free on Roku. It is absolutely hilarious.
That's on the list of movies I was planning on trying to tackle with my wife over the holiday break. So
yeah, I watched it with my wife. She liked it too. My wife famously does not like Weird Al.
Oh, really?
Does not care for his music. That's great. At all. She has warmed to him since we've been together in the last 13 years that we've been married, just because I think she respects him as a creator more than she actually thinks he's funny. I guess now at this point. So she was able to watch this movie and see it as something that's worthwhile. I guess.
There you go.
I just thought it was great. So that's my honorable mention. So Steve, best for you, favorite movie of 2022. Hit me.
I had to go with Angela Bassett killing it in Wakanda Forever.
I knew you were gonna say that. That was my guess.
There was, I mean, for me, it was also probably tainted by the fact that I only saw so many movies in theaters this year. But that experience was phenomenal. Like, the movie never dragged. It hit all the right notes. They were able to pull off the plot lines as well as introducing Namor and the Atlanteans, or whatever they're called now.
I know. I still don't remember what they're calling it. It's not Atlantis. Telecon. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, no. It was just, it hit all the right notes for me.
Yep, I agree. It did drag a little bit for me, I'll say.
Yep.
But
I already knew where you was too. So.
Yeah, it was certainly the best. Certainly the best Marvel film that I saw this year.
Hands
100%.
down.
Well, this is we're voting on party lines here tonight.
We're on brand.
It's yeah, we're definitely on brand tonight.
What your winner is would have been my third easy. So.
Do you know what it is? You must know what it is.
100%.
It was an early in the year. It almost feels like it didn't come out this year because it was
also part
March.
of why it may not have made my why Prey bumped it, but yeah.
Yeah. My favorite movie of 2022, as far as nerd relevant things are concerned, it was The Batman.
Yep.
Starring Robert Pattinson. I just think it's just so good.
It was phenomenal.
It's just so good. I rewatched it. I was sick recently. I had the flu, and I just had it on like while I was like dozing off and waking up. And every time I woke up, I was like, "Oh yeah, this part's great." And then I would just go back to sleep and go, "Oh yeah, this part's great," and go back to sleep. "Oh yeah, this part's great." Yeah, so good. Fresh take on the character, and fresh take on a character that has had so many fresh takes. It's hard to find a fresh take.
Yeah.
So the fact they pulled it off and they made me want more of that universe and more of those characters, and we are getting more of them, and we're getting more of them in 2023. Whether it be a movie, it's not going to be a movie, but yeah, hands down, the Batman for me was the only one that I could.
Yep.
Nothing's touching that for me. So all right, Dud.
And mind
right,
you,
bud.
this is the year that you converted me to actually like putting DC things on my pull list and stuff. So.
Yeah.
It's been big steps.
That's a big win for me. It's a big win for me.
So where are we heading next? We heading to TV?
Yeah, let's do TV. You got an honorable mention of a TV show?
I do. Honorable mention has to be Werewolf by Night.
Oh shit! I didn't think about the specials.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah, I was sitting there thinking through it. I'm like, there's a bunch. There's some solid TV that's been out, like. The Rings of Powers, the House of the Dragon, whatever. Like, we covered a lot of that. But, like, Werewolf by Night was just, it was tight, it was concise, it was well done, and it was just really, really good.
That's definitely my favorite Marvel TV thing, I think I saw this year.
Hands down the
She-Hulk
best Marvel
is
thing
right
that
up
came
there.
out. Yeah, She-Hulk was the good. Yeah. But, like, Werewolf was a step
Werewolf
above.
by Night was... That was a thing that was like felt fresh Marvel-wise to me, in a way that even She-Hulk didn't really, because She-Hulk was very much in the same universe. And I know Werewolf by Night is too, and I'm sure we're gonna see him show up in whatever Secret Wars or something.
Right.
But
and if not him, Man-Thing will, or like Elsa,
somebody's
or
going
somebody.
to.
Yeah.
But yeah, Werewolf by Night was great. You're right. Good call. I'm hesitant to say my honorable mention because I think it's your number one.
Really?
And I don't want to steal your thunder.
Yeah, go for it.
My honorable mention. This might be controversial. Because it might be controversial that it's not my number one, but my honorable mention is Andor.
Okay. I am surprised it was not your number one for the amount that it was the praises were sung of it. So I'm very curious as to what would have superseded it.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
And anyone anyone who has listened to the podcast knows that will be my number one, or was my number one, or is my number one.
Yeah.
But like that was, again, similar to Werewolf by Night. Fresh, well done, something new and original, like in the Star Wars universe, but not the classic Star Wars. Like it ticked all the boxes.
Yep. I agree. I think Cassian Andor might be might be my favorite Star Wars character.
Oh yeah. If you'd have told me that at the beginning of the year, I would have said, "Go home, you're drunk."
Yeah, I would have said I mean, he's fine in Rogue One, but
Right.
no. But like seeing this and then knowing Rogue One is like, yeah, I think he's top 3 Star Wars characters for me, I think. And yeah, that show knocked me out every week, knocked me out. But it did exist within a framework that I'm familiar with. It did exist in a continuity where I know what's going to happen at the end of it. So like the whole time it's like, yeah, well, I know he's not really in any danger. I know he's not going to die.
Right.
So when it came time for me to pick one versus an honorable mention, that was the only sliver of thing that I could think of to differentiate Andor from my favorite television show of 2022, which again came out in early 2022. So I'm surprised that I remember it. Peacemaker.
Oh shit! I forgot about that.
The aforementioned Peacemaker.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah. It was just so good, man. It was just
really
so good.
I forgot that was this year.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Because it came out in January. I think it came out in January. And if it's the only season that we get a Peacemaker, then that's sad.
Yeah.
But it's just so, like, the opening credits alone.
Oh, God.
worth being in the top 10 of the year, I think. And the fact that, like, it was so wild and crazy, and it was like, you know, like we're just saying about Hypno-Hustler or whatever. Like, he's like such a D-list character that you don't care about what happens to him. You don't have expectations for what he should be doing or how he should be acting. And, you know, James Gunn's an incredibly crazy out there writer. You don't know where he's going from episode to episode. And in one episode, they meet a giant gorilla that they have to kill with a chainsaw.
Right.
Like, what?
Right.
Like, I never thought I'd see that in a DC thing. And here it is in my home. It's just, I had to give it to that for the sheer creativity alone, and the sheer unexpectedness of a Peacemaker show even existing, let alone being great.
Yeah, no, that had no right to be nearly as good as it was.
No right at all. No right at all, my friend.
And that actually for one of our newest confirmed listeners, if you could go out and watch 3 TV shows from this year, go watch these 3, because none of them are overtly comic book related or nerd culture related. They're just good, hilarious, in the case of Peacemaker, shows.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Peacemaker, you might benefit from watching The Suicide Squad, a movie called The Suicide Squad, before, because Peacemaker is a spinoff of that movie.
The person I'm referencing enjoys Doom Patrol, so I think
that's true. Yeah,
The Suicide Squad and Peacemaker would be in the vein. Yeah,
I think this person, whose name is Chris, let's just call him right out while he's listening. Chris, watch The Suicide Squad, starring John Cena and Idris Elba and Margot Robbie.
And if you ever thought that cast could exist, what?
Yeah. And then watch a show called Peacemaker if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine too. I'll still love you.
It's true.
All right. What was the last one? Comics. All right. Let's go. Steve, what's your honorable mention comic for 2022?
So it's a weird one because I had to differentiate because I didn't read a lot of stuff that came out in 2022.
Dude, yeah, no, this was hard for me too.
So I was like, I came out and read. So technically, Immortal X. So if we're going with came out in 2022, Immortal X-Men was my honorable mention. Kieran Gillen run effectively took over the Hickman verse, and continued that on. Then this is actually kind of weird because it's similar to what happened last year, where it was the same writer for my for both of my nominees, but Kieran Gillen for honorable mention for Immortal X-Men. So
nice. I think my honorable mention it was either my honorable mention or my favorite from last year.
Yep.
Also, but it's still going on with the same creative team, and it's Tom Taylor and Bruno Renato's Nightwing.
Nice.
I think they're still crushing it, and I'm still loving it. I'm not even caught up all the way. I still am a couple issues behind, but I'm working on it.
If they're still doing it, then what the hell?
And it's just great. It's just so good. And I hope, and they have said that they're going to be on that book for a long time, and I hope that they are, because I can't stop reading it, and I love it.
100 issues in, starting as of the next issue, right? 99 just coming
99 comes out this week, and then 100 will be in January.
Yeah. My top slot for the year went to Once in Future, which was was Kieran Gillen's indie with Boom, take on the Arthurian legend. I think it's still ongoing at this point. No, but there were a couple of trades that came out in this year, and it's still kicking. And whatever the equivalent of Volume 4 was, like I think it was 19 to 24, was just a hell of a run. So
yeah, awesome. I just remembered one that I think should be my favorite. So I'm gonna bump what was gonna be my favorite back to my honorable mention.
Okay.
So my new forget that I said anything about Nightwing. Edit that part out. Just cut it right out.
Still good.
My honorable mention is G. Willow Wilson's Poison Ivy. I think was an incredible miniseries.
I literally looked at that and was like, I'm gonna put that as my honorable mention. And then I got to writing it down, and I completely DC just blew from my mind. But like that was another one of those DC pulls that you convinced me that it was like, this is really, really good.
It was just like scary and gross and like just crazy body horror, like straight villainy.
Yep.
Which is something that I feel like I haven't seen in a Poison Ivy story in a long time, which I thought was great. Really great writing. My number one now, as I remember it, is a single issue, a one-shot, Batman, One Bad Day, The Riddler by Tom King and Mitch Gerrits. Really an incredible, disturbing, and really smartly written one-shot Riddler book that I highly recommend.
Tom King had a year too, because Human Target was on the radar as well.
Yeah, I fell off of getting the week by week. I never really put on my pull list, and then I missed one, so I fell off. But I'm gonna get the trade when it comes out, because
That's the same thing I did. I have the Strange Adventures over there, which almost made it. Well, I'm a couple issues in. That made it onto the things I read in 22 that were, but that one was like, there was a lot more options there. Had to go with The Last Ronin, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin, and Star Wars: The High Republic were both like phenomenal series that were ongoing. But the number one book that I read in 22, Ram V, Many Deaths of Layla Starr.
Oh, sure, of course. Like, jeez.
So that it was serialized. It was serialized last year, but the trade came out in January, and I bought it in February, and I read it, and I was like, "Fuck, this is amazing!"
Yeah. And I read like the first like 3 issues, and I like didn't put on my pull list, so I like missed a week, and so yeah.
Yep.
Great shout out. Also, shout out to Cliff Chang's Catwoman: Lonely City. That's a great book. I missed the last issue, but my store is apparently ordering it for me. I'm just waiting for it to come in. And yeah, I asked for a hardcover copy of Strange Adventures for Christmas. I can't wait to reread that.
Yeah, and the real answer for best that I read, well, actually the best that came out and I read in 22 would have to be The Amazing Shakes #1. All variant covers.
Thanks, Steve. That's mighty nice of you to say. He's talking about my comic book that I wrote. For those of you who don't know, that's wonderful. Thanks, bud.
I was flipping through. I still they're pristine copies because I've never actually opened them because I read the digital, and then the comic book nerd in me was like, "Well, these are bagged and boarded. Got to leave them that way."
There you go.
So
I am almost done shipping all of them out. I hit a snag where it took me. I shipped a bunch of them out, and then it was a long drought, and I have a few more to go, and I'm gonna try to get them out either this week or probably between Christmas and New Year's, because the post office, I feel like, is probably pretty slogged between now and Christmas. So
yeah, they might be.
Thanks for that shout out, buddy. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
All right. So, winding things down, last episode of 2022. We did this last year as well. Here comes a list of everything that's coming out in 2023. I'm sure that I've left something off this list. I'm sure that I have. I'm positive that I have. Although it is a very long list, I'm sure it's not comprehensive, or things will get moved and they'll get bumped to 2024, or something will get bumped up to 2023 or whatever. Yeah. And I'm sure, I think we mentioned something earlier that I realized, oh wait, I forgot to put that on that list, and I don't even remember what it was now that we're talking about. So just, write in and yell at us that we forgot something. So buckle up, people. I'm about to read you a very long list of everything that's coming out in 2023. And then Steve and I are going to pick our most anticipated projects from this list. All right. This is relatively more or less in the order that they are going to be released. There are some things that are thrown in there that do not have release dates, and I just threw them in randomly. So some things will be left turns, but more or less starting with January, ending with December. Coming in 2023. You guys ready? All right. Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 2. The Last of Us Season 1. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. Harley Quinn, a very problematic Valentine's Day special. Forgot about that one.
When's that coming?
Cocaine Bear. Did we talk about Cocaine Bear?
Yes. Well, I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast. You and I have talked about it.
You and I talked about it. I don't know. If you haven't seen the trailer for Cocaine Bear, you should go see that. That's not a nerd thing. Some of these, not all of these are straight nerd things. Some of these are just like within the genre. There's some horror things, and we talk about horror every once in a while. So like I included some horror things as well. But like,
that just looks hilarious.
It just looks amazing. Yeah. The Mandalorian Season 3. Superman and Lois Season 3. Scream 6. Gotham Knights Season 1. Shazam, Fury of the Gods. John Wick Chapter 4. John Wick spin-off series, The Continental Season 1. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. Star Wars The Acolyte Season 1. The Super Mario Brothers movie. Agatha Coven of Chaos Season 1. Renfield Dracula movie starring Nicolas Cage as Dracula. Armor Wars Season 1. Evil Dead Rise. Marvel Zombies. The Witcher Season 3. Star Wars Skeleton Crew, a show that I had completely forgotten existed that was going to come out, and I'm shocked that it's supposed to come out in 2023 because I haven't heard anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's where I'm going to read the next string of them in a quick succession without taking a break, and these are all movies that are coming out during this summer 2023. You ready? Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Transformers Rise of the Beasts, The Flash, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, Barbie, The Marvels, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, and Blue Beetle.
So outside of Barbie and Transformers, I will probably be in the theater for all of those.
Did you see they released a teaser trailer for Barbie this week. Did you see the teaser trailer for Barbie?
No.
You should watch it.
Oh, yeah?
Because I think I'm going to go see that shit. It's good.
That's amazing.
Just the tone is really like fun and funny. Like they know what they're doing for sure. That's the only if they hadn't released a teaser trailer this week, I would not have put it on this list. But it seems like it's within the realm of things people would like that listen to this show. Moving on. Oh, by the way, yeah, we're not done. Echo Season 1. That's the Marvel Daredevil-ish, or Hawkeye spinoff, I should say. Kraven the Hunter. The Penguin Season 1. Ironheart Season 1. Loki Season 2. Dune Part 2. Did you forget about Dune? Yeah, Dune's coming out. Untitled Ghostbusters sequel. Marvel's What If Season 2. Wheel of Time Season 2. X-Men 97. And then bowing in December, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Yeah.
That's a lot of things.
That's a lot of things. That's a packed 2023. Whew.
Yeah,
I'm going to be living at the theater this summer. I'm going to be seeing all those movies this summer.
pretty much.
So, Steve, out of this list, is there like a movie and or a show that you would consider your most anticipated?
I mean, most anticipated hands down is Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah?
Yeah. There's no two ways about it for a movie, like distinctly movie.
Yeah.
Guardians 3 was close.
Mm-hmm.
Indy is Indy. Like I still don't know what I feel about Indy. The more and the less I see about it, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I know I want to see it, but
yeah, exactly. I'm really excited about seeing an Indiana Jones movie, but
there's still a crystal skull there that's keeping me from getting too excited.
Or like if they didn't make an Indiana Jones 5, I would also be okay.
Right.
You know, it's not like I need an Indiana Jones 5.
Mm-hmm.
So as much, I don't know if this is a good most anticipated movie. I don't know.
It's not Barbie,
all
right?
reports. What's that?
I said it's not
not Barbie,
right? Okay.
But I'm telling you, watch that teaser trailer. It's funny.
All right.
It's The Flash.
Yeah.
It's got to be The Flash, man. Like, it's just taken so long for them to make this movie. It's taken them so long.
Well, I mean, we also didn't specify best movie of 23. It was most like the one you want to see the most. And I get that.
Yes.
Like we've been talking
gotta
about
be
The Flash for 2 years now. It's got to be.
There's so much behind the scenes nonsense about this movie. And the other thing is, all reports indicate that it's really good, which is why it's still coming out. If it wasn't really good, they probably would have canceled it. But like, as recently as last week, I heard Jeff Snyder, one of our go-to critics, say that he hears it's really, really effing good, is what he said on his podcast. I keep hearing that. So it's got to be The Flash for me. Got to be The Flash. But I got to say, close second for me. And this might come as a shock. I'm pretty sure close second, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. I love that series.
I was going to say,
so
it doesn't
much.
surprise me because we've had that conversation a couple times, but
I cannot wait. For a new Mission Impossible movie starring Tom Cruise, who just today they announced that Top Gun Maverick is coming out on Paramount Plus to stream this week, actually, like 22nd, I think, 22nd or 23rd.
That one's also got to go on the list of it's that and weird that I have to watch over Christmas break.
Yeah. And he announced it, of course, by jumping out of a helicopter and filming himself falling through the sky before his parachute opened. And that just, even though he was talking about Top Gun Maverick, I was like, this is making me more excited to see the Mission Impossible movie. So yeah, I got to say that. Obviously, Across the Spider-Verse is super up there for me as well. Is there a show that you're more excited about than any other from this list?
I'm sticking on brand with that. Acolyte.
I was going to say Acolyte too.
Yeah.
Acolyte's mine.
Last of Us is an honorable mention because I really want to see what they're doing with that. But yeah, the Acolyte is hands down, like, I've seen enough High Republic stuff that I'm very excited for where this could go.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just excited because I don't know anything about it. Right. Like, it's going to be, I feel like, I hope it's done well in that I can't imagine it's going to be so similar to Andor. Because it's more Jedi Force related stuff. But because I don't know anything about it or what it's going to be about, makes me more excited about it, really. Because, like, you tell me, oh, you're getting a Boba Fett show. It's like, okay, I kind of get what that's going to be, even though it was different, not in a great way. And you tell me it's an Obi-Wan show. Okay, I understand this is the time frame. This is what it's going to be like. I get that. Acolyte, I have no idea. There's going to be all new characters. I have no idea what's going to happen, and I'm very excited about that. Also, the Penguin. I'm excited about that because I love the Batman so much, so I get more Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Like, let's see what happens here.
And Colin Farrell's portrayal was amazing in that, so what the hell?
Amazing. And hey, quick shout out to a non-nerd movie, just because I just watched it recently. I watched a movie, it's on HBO Max, called The Banshees of Inisherin. starring Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson.
Okay.
It's a very, and he's great in it. It's like a very small, it's like a small story told very beautifully and very well. It's described as a tragic comedy. It's very funny, but sad things happen also, but it's also continues to be funny throughout. And I recommend it. It's like a 2-hour meditation on friendship, kind of. I don't know. It's just weird, but it's funny. So check that out. And again, I bring that up because it reminded me how great an actor Colin Farrell is.
Right.
Because he just looks like a totally different person as the Penguin, just completely different person. And even though you go into the Batman knowing it's Colin Farrell, you forget that it's him because he just looks totally different and his acting totally different. And then he's in this Banshees movie where he's just heavy Irish accent, normal looking guy. You're like, oh yeah, it's the same guy that was yelling at James Gordon in the Batman about incorrect Spanish, whatever. Yeah,
it's the same guy that was talking to Denzel in Training Day. Like what?
Yeah, exactly. So good.
Oh yeah. Any comics you're looking forward to in 23?
I'm looking forward to getting back into making my own comics in 2023. I've been in talks with a publisher. Hopefully that I'm not trying to tease anything or knock on wood. I'm not jinxing it by saying anything here, but might be able to get some movement going on issue 2 of the Amazing Shakes. I think either way, hell or high water, we're going to get some movement on issue 2 of the Amazing Shakes in 2023.
There we go.
And you know what? I'm excited. I think it's in January. I remember we talked about it a few weeks ago. A comic I'm excited about reading is a mini series going on in pages of The Flash called 1 Minute War, where it's going to be like a 6-issue mini series that all takes place within 1 minute because they're all speedsters fighting each other. So like, I am going to check that out. I'm going to put it on my pull list because it sounds cool. And it's like a unique story that you can only tell with that kind of character.
Yep.
So it sounds cool.
There you go.
What about you?
Yeah,
Any comics that
DC's
you're excited about?
Their normal blow up everything with Lazarus Planet, and then what is it? Dawn of DC or whatever. The standard.
Yeah,
yearly,
I'm interested to see what Dawn of DC ends up being. Yeah, for sure. And we'll see.
Well, and that's I mean, Marvel's got the same thing going with like Sins of Sinister, and then
of course,
Fall of X. So the Krakoan era will come to an end. The end of this year. So that'll be that's on the Steve needs to pay attention to X-Men again thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. Lots of great stuff in store for 2023. And I think that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, probably.
All right.
We talked for a while.
We did. And we'll see, I guess, if there's like we said, if there's other news that comes out, maybe we'll do a short episode next week to cover it, but
short in quotes.
Quote unquote short. Yeah.
That's how we roll.
I'm knocking on some wood right now to see, I can't imagine anything major is going to happen the week before Christmas, but
no, I could see us dropping
something
the week
before.
after that, but if need be, like if something comes out, but if not, hope everybody has a good holiday season and New Year and whatnot. And
happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, happy Christmas.
Yeah.
And unless I don't know, unless something major happens, unless Tom Holland is gonna show up in what's this?
Madam Web?
Hypno-Hustler.
Hypno-Hustler? Yeah.
Yeah. If Tom Holland shows up in Hypno-Hustler, we'll record an episode about it. But other than that, we'll likely not see you until 2023.
All right. Sounds good. And check us out on socials. Check us out. Leave us a review wherever you're listening to us, be it YouTube, be it on your podcatcher of choice. I think that about wraps it up for the year.
It sure does. Steve, thanks so much for doing this podcast with me for another year. I really appreciate it. Always have a great time.
Same to you, Mike. Same to you.
Cool. All right. So that's it. Happy New Year, everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you in the multiverse.